So here we have a mid-90s Roberts R250. It's the Roberts Revival range. When I say mid-90s, anywhere between 93 to 96 for this particular model. This one's come in to me with audio issues, so we're just going to plug it in and find out what it actually sounds like.
The model's great, got a line out with a breakdown. It's the A66 westbound from the Mountain Road interchange to the Hartington interchange.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's just not. It sounds like it's just not quite tuned in. Now that can be a couple of things. It is most likely to be one of the audio capacitors, but not the actual audio chip. The volume's working okay. It's currently on FM. I'll try it on medium wave. Not expecting to pick up much at all. In the Man Lab I've several fluorescent units that interfere with medium wave and long wave. But yeah, it's working on medium wave too. And let's try it on long wave on 252. Yeah, but it's quiet. Turn the radio around sometimes. Yeah, particularly quiet on long wave. Back onto FM. And there we have Radio 1. So, this one definitely needs a look at. Start to take it to pieces. First thing we need to do is remove the aerial. There's just one screw in the bottom to remove. One screw until you feel it give, and then push and pull the aerial free. Put that on one side. Open up the back of the radio, and we'll push, if we can, the aerial screw out. That went with a pop. So that's the aerial free, and now close the back up, just because it makes it easier. And there are two screws on the side, just hidden behind the handle, that need to be removed. There's one, and the same again on the other side. And this will release the frame of the radio from the chassis. Open the back up once more, and on the left hand side there's no screw in there this time. You can just ease that MDF plate straight out. There we go. Put that on one side, and then the radio comes free from. Disconnect the speaker and disconnect the power lead from the radio. And then let's have a look at the circuit board. So there's the radio out of its case. Let's have a closer look at the circuit board, see what I can see. I can already see it's had some work done on it previously. I can see some soldering, which isn't the neatest soldering in the world. It's just here, that's one of the capacitors, so that might be the actual capacitor that's at fault. If I turn it over and look at that capacitor, it is the big one at the back here. The top of it looks alright, it's not dished, but I can see some, I don't know whether we'll pick it up on there, some historic spray from a capacitor having previously blown. So it has had that capacitor change previously. I can't see the value of that capacitor, so we'll probably have to take that out of circuit just to have a look at that. That could be causing the audio issues. Everything else on there looks to be okay. As with everything, looks can be deceptive. Because I can see the spray from a previous capacitor having blown, that capacitor that's actually in there now, the one that I pointed out previously, there at the back, looks physically too big. It might have the right value, but I doubt it. So I'm just going to get one of the correct capacitors for that, and we'll have a look at the difference in size. This is one of the correct capacitors. I don't know if you can see on there, it's 1000 UF 16 volts, but physically it's a lot smaller than the one that's actually in there. The one that's actually in there being, I'm guessing, the wrong one. I think it's a 25 volt capacitor that's in there, but until we take it out I won't know. But if it's the wrong one, it won't do the correct values. Just having a small issue with the fan in my desolderer. There we go. Sometimes a technical tap works, and sometimes not. There we go, it sounds like it's fired up now. And I'll have a look at removing that in just a moment. The other thing that could be causing the issue, of course, is the speaker, but that's really rare for that to happen. Also notice on the top, I don't know if you can see on the video there, just along this edge here, it looks to have melted. There's a slight raised area in the middle of the dial plate, and the edge has come away from the frame. So we'll probably change that too. So while we're waiting for the desolderer to heat up, I think we'll get on and do that. That's just a quick fix, famous last words, because some of these buttons and knobs are particularly difficult to remove, other ones quite easy. That one was a little bit tougher. And then we use a spudger tool just to lift up the dial plate, and then pretty much just pull, and that's the dial plate removed, and there's the inner workings of the dial mechanism and the dreaded dial code, a job which I absolutely hate doing. So fiddly, so finicky. I do have another dial plate already in my spares to be able to change the dial plate and make it look a little better. I'll just grab that now, give it a clean first before we put it in. This is one from a donor set, which couldn't be repaired, but was still good for the sum of its other parts, the cosmetic parts. There's my desolderer. That's doing okay. So there we go. And these are adhesive backed, they always stay sticky, so this should just be a case of popping that onto there, running around just to press fit. Popping the volume knob back on and the tuning knob, and that does look not perfect, but a lot better than the original one. Let's just compare it again with the original one so we can perhaps somehow, it's got a bend in there. I've never seen one with that. It's obviously suffered some heat damage, and that could have been actually from that capacitor that's faulted it. We're going to just take out a circuit and have a look at in a moment. I think the desoldering pump's ready and willing, so we will have a look at removing that and find out if it is the correct value. Sadly, there's no way to tell until I remove it from the circuit to find out whether it is the correct value or not. I just need to lever one of those legs up there and the other one. That should make it a lot easier to remove. So it's a 25 volt 1000 UF, which isn't the original spec capacitor. Ideally it should be 1000 UF, 16 volt, 1000 volt. Wow, we won't want one of those in there, so we'll put the correct value back in and see if that makes some difference. Put some flux onto the joints just to make the solder flow much easier. There we go. Look, there's a soldering iron up to temperature, I believe it is. I'll get some solder flowed onto those joints. Heat up the component and add the solder to the joint. There it is in circuit. I just need to snip those terminals. Add some power to this in a second before we put it back into the radio chassis. I've made that mistake many a time before. It's changing components or doing a repair, putting it back together and then finding out that when it's back together it's still not working. So we'll add some power to that. I'll just make sure that the radio's in the off position at the moment. Temporary speaker, it's my testing speaker I use for all the different radios. Wired up. And let's see if that's made a jot of difference. It may have, it may not have. Sounds exactly the same. So although the capacitor was the wrong one, it wasn't that was stopping the quality of the sound from the radio. It wasn't the speaker, because this is my testing speaker and I know that's fine. So now, if go to the tuning capacitor and see if we can adjust that so that it does sound better. So having had a look at that, having changed that capacitor, it's not the capacitor that's at fault, so the only other thing that it could be is the audio chip. So we'll go and get that desoldered now and taken out of circuit, and we'll pop a replacement in there as well. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that should fix the issue. Never happier than when I've got my head buried in a radio that simply doesn't want to play a ball, because when we do get there, in the end, the satisfaction of saving another one from landfill is immense. To desolder. This is the last one. Let's see if we can go ahead now and get that audio chip removed. These are sometimes quite tricky because they're actually, although they're soldered in, they're also glued in. They're sometimes glued down to the board. This one's none too bad, I don't think. I'm going to have to stop coming out with these famous last words, aren't I? There we go. There's the audio chip, or the audio spider as I call it. 8 legs. Tiny. Annoying. And we'll pop a replacement in there. Sometimes the trickiest part, because you just cannot see the through holes where the legs of the chip are supposed to go through. We might be lucky. That's one side in. We might just need a little persuasion just to line up. So let's get that one soldered up now. Again, we'll add some flux to those just to make the joints flow a little bit easier. Just double check before I solder it in that I've got the correct orientation on that, because we don't want to blow it again and embarrass ourselves. 1, 2, that's not such a good one, there we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, last, definitely not least, 8, and again let's get that connected up. speaker in. Connect to that. And connect the power lead. Give it a go and see if that sounds any different again.
And on that banner, I had over 250 lines. And my father, who valued
Maximilian Vanka letter.
That
How
does
she's
sound
looking forward
much better.
And here's Sarah.
BBC Radio Lancashire.
Travel.
Continue. With closure of Rosegrove Lane, of course.
Your price is so high.
Well, Dora Piaggio, vision, disagreement. That is not a way forward for your children, for your mother, for anybody.
Because we had in the 70s, and that one had an overwhelming majority. It means that I'm in.
With either of those.
Well, in Herefordshire, we can't get the fruit picked. I live in an area that was left behind. Why not? Because people.
In the live lounge for us on Thursday, playing that for you live. That is Freya Ridings, The Lost Without You. That is going to be beautiful. We look forward to it.
And there we go, that seems to be resolved now. So it was actually the audio chip, even though they'd put the wrong capacitor in there. So it's yet another Roberts Revival R250 with a blown audio chip, and that usually happens when people plug in the incorrect power supply. Roberts, in their infinite wisdom, decided to add to their power jack the feature that the centre pin is negative and not positive, which goes against every other appliance you'll probably ever plug in your life. So people get these radios probably from eBay or car boot sales, second-hand markets. They get given them as gifts, but without the correct Roberts adapter, and they'll go to Asda's or Tesco's or order a compatible type online. As soon as they get it home, they'll plug in the radio, and that blows the audio chip. And that's where I come in. Not even Roberts can repair these radios now because they don't have the spiders, which are these audio chips. Teeny tiny things, but me, in my infinite wisdom, decided to order a few thousand of them, so I'm good for a few years yet. So let's get all the test equipment disconnected from there, speaker off, remove the power jack, and we'll get it back into the case, and then you'll get to hear how good it actually sounds when it's actually in the case, because what you've just heard there was my just testing to make sure that it worked, and it does.